What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. Today, we are finally getting around to doing a little bit of a recap for LVTT, a teams event we went to in Las Vegas the other weekend. Unfortunately, Ben Neal is not able to join us. He just couldn't get it to work scheduling-wise, but we got the rest of the boys. I was there as a coach. We got Phil, who was playing, Ryan, who was playing, and Matt and John, who are also there. It's great to have you guys. Phil, let's start with you. How you doing? What was your favorite part of LVT?
So I'm good. I'm recovered after LVTT. I feel great. My favorite part I was playing John Lennon. I wanted to play Art of War so bad. I was like, I just want us to be undefeated. I wanted an opportunity to play into some of the top guys. I wanted that matchup. I didn't care what he was on. Like, I want to see that game and I want to be able to play it because we've talked about it before, Lane. Like, there's a lot of people that don't get to see those Art of War guys very often, or if at all. So like when you get to that top table, like getting across from them for the first time, that can be a lot because they are fantastic players. So I wanted to see it in person. I wanted to play against them, and I was thoroughly impressed. It was a great game. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of the weekend, and also hanging out with the boys. It was great. It was going 4-1 was awesome. I think there was a little touch and go there for a little bit, but that's because of the quality of the teams that were there. Thanks to our prep and our armies and the things that we did leading up to it, we got put into a pretty good position.
Yeah, it was a super fun weekend, as you stated. Always great to hang out with the boys, the homies, and get to play some great 40K 4-1. Super respectable. Super glad we got to make such a good run. And we don't want to go into this slog of round by round. We played this. So and so was on this mission. We want to just give you guys kind of the highlights and our takeaways from the weekend. So this can be a short video. We're not going to drag you through an hour and a half of, what all happened. So we're just going to try to, get a little insight from how everybody's weekend went. Matt, you already had a little bit of time to put together your thoughts. You released a video on Into the Hive Mind, or Into the Vibe Mind, as some of us like to call it now. But let's start with you. What were some of your big takeaways from that weekend?
Yeah, I mean, first off, as you guys said, just hanging out with the guys was absolutely incredible. Just spending a weekend playing Warhammer, getting an Airbnb together, that's a great start to the weekend, regardless of outcome. But on top of that, our outcome was pretty good. 4-1 is definitely respectable, and especially with the number of high quality teams that were there. Obviously, I agree with you, Phil. Playing against Art of War is always a highlight. They are some of the top players, and you learn the most, in my opinion, by losing, getting our butts kicked by the top players in the world. Yeah, that's always a highlight. And I think you learn the most from that. As far as the weekend itself, I mean, just tons of great teams. I don't think we played anyone that felt even a little bit off. I think every round was just a fun time, fun Warhammer. And got to learn. I think we didn't bring 5 meta armies. So getting to kind of just taste our lists against the hotness that was out there was pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. I do think it's worth, kind of touching on what our comp was a little bit. So go ahead and kind of give us at least kind of the overview. What was the premise of your list and what you were running?
Sure. So I was running Assimilation Swarm Tyranids, definitely a detachment that is not played by too many players. I actually played it in January of last year at LVO and made it to the top 16 with that. So I was very comfortable with that style of play, but it's essentially just mass monster mash and durability that just deploys on the line and pushes forward. We kind of were playing that as more of a blunting list that could kind of go into anything, just because, it just moves across the board, sits on objectives, and it takes the opponent a long time to kind of scrape you off, and you're scoring points the whole time.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting. Would you say it felt like, as a game plan, we joked about this a time or two, that it really came down to one role, was how most of your game kind of was decided?
That list very much likes to go first, it turns out. It doesn't have guns, so I have to get to grips with my opponent, and that means deploy on the line and hopefully go first and just take all the objectives right off the bat and force them to come to me and take me off, which I think for the games, I think I did go first.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It was 4 of the games, except for the one you really, really wanted to go first. I
Yes,
think more than
the
any
one
of
I
them.
really, really wanted to go first was against Guard on Terraform. And they went first, started blowing me to pieces, and starting to terraform. Yeah, that was definitely a mission I would have preferred going first.
But you still slogged it out. You ended up with an 11-9 that round. It was super well done. You were battling the whole time, regardless of losing 2 Horus Spexes and a Psycho Phase before you even moved a model.
Yep.
You fought through it, which was great. All right, Phil, let's go back. Well, actually, John, we're gonna go to you. Get you involved here. We're gonna have to slap your face somewhere on this video so that people can see you because you're hidden to us. Let's talk about your weekend.
Unfortunately, the webcam is out of commission right now. But yeah, I brought Montka Tau with 2 Storm Surges and 3 Riptides. The idea behind the list was that it was super aggro, scouting, advancing and shooting, towering to touch into those ruins and shoot through them. I was trying to get after people and push high scores on these mostly open boards that were present at the LVTT. My number one takeaway from this is to maybe consider not pivoting to an army that I don't play and taking it to a team event. The weekend was pretty rough for you boy. I got 1 draw and 4 losses, scoring a combined 20 points out of 5 games. Pretty embarrassing performance, which included 4 games that I got to go first, which the list really does like to. But I think it was a big learning experience in a lot about list writing, what my strengths are as a player. I thought that maybe, my experience as like a melee aggro pusher could translate to fast guns. Didn't quite end up being that way, but learned a lot. Learned the tough way, but it was still a great weekend hanging out with the fellas for sure.
Yeah, I do think though it was, it might have been just a day too late, right? We talked about this, Friday night you showed up to the Airbnb and you're like, sorry boys, this is garbage. But at least you knew that before we even did pairings.
It's true.
Right. Like, and I think that actually is very redeeming. We didn't really decide on list comps, some of those last few updates were coming out and stuff. So things were kind of in the air and we got some test games in. You got a couple test games in after lists locked in and you're like, all right, I know this is going to be a problem. So we were at least able to do what we could to still work with it. And give you those shots. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough having to be in that position. Somebody's taking nades usually all weekend. It was unfortunately you almost the entire time, but hey, we appreciated it nonetheless.
Absolutely. Least I could do.
Okay. All right, Ryan, you were running some World Eaters. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your list and how your weekend went?
Yeah, so I played a very trade-focused World Eater list where just about everything gets to fight up or trade up on points. Lots of 8-bound Hellbrutes that could, if one positioning mistake is made, I can capitalize on. And overall, the whole weekend went well. Really, really enjoyed the list and really enjoyed the trade focus. It was pretty good.
Nice. Was there anything you felt like as far as a takeaway of, maybe something you would change going forward? Anywhere you felt like the list came up a little short?
Yeah. So also to add on to everyone else, my highlight of the tournament was playing Art-Vor as well. And I got to play Sam Pope, and he really highlighted the flaw in the list that I didn't really consider until he showed me by beating the crap out of me using it as an exploit. I had an OC problem with the 3-man 8-bounds and just low OC all around. He was just able to block me out from scoring a lot of primary. And it was very tough to come back. The list itself struggled with just auto-seeing in general, and that's not generally a thing you want to do, especially as a combat army.
Right. Yeah. You need to be fighting on those objectives and actually holding them. And those big bugs, they were doing it well. It was hard to compete with.
Yeah, the Tyrannifex as being OC5 and me having to put 6 total 8-bound on an objective to auto-see him, not good. not good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Phil, you were the captain of the team. You got to do some fun old pairings and try to get everybody in the right spot. And it ended up in a 4-1 weekend. Can't complain about that. How was your weekend as a player, though, running your Outlander Claw GSC?
So I'm very comfortable with GSC. I play it often. I play it at top tables. I play it in a lot of practice games. I do a lot of theory crafting with it. I would like to say I'm one of the first people that started to play Final Day when it first came out because everyone else tossed it to the side and I was running it at GTs. But I know it is a popular detachment, but I went back to what I'm very comfortable with. The theme of the army is it's just OC. I don't kill things that great. I have to ticky-tack my way into murdering stuff, where I have to line up multiple units of bikes. I have to throw a grenade. I have to have some shitty shooting in there. I have to charge you with a rock grinder, maybe get some metamorphs in there, and then maybe, just maybe, I might kill what I need to kill. But at the end of the day, none of that matters, as long as I deny primary. And that's what I did all weekend, right? Like, I played into Custodes. I denied primary. I played into Guard. We denied primary. I have reactive moves. I have reactive bombs. Like everything that I had is just a tool for me to make sure that I deny as much primary as possible and force my opponent into a position where it's a no-win scenario. Because what are you going to do? Come out and kill my 70-point unit of Metamorphs? Well, eventually you're going to have to come out with something real, and I'm going to try to like hurt it. But at the end of the day, if I'm wiped off the board, it doesn't matter as long as I've denied primary multiple times. Overall, the weekend went good. Pairings is something that I have learned as I've played more and more often, how important it is. In this type of pairings was something completely different, something that I wasn't necessarily super used to. So like Matt and Ryan and you and John and I and Ben, we talked about it quite a bit prior to. And the conclusion that we came to was like, yes, the lists matter. Don't get me wrong, the matchups matter. But everything else could be solved. Like a good match or a bad matchup could become a good matchup because it's on the right deployment, because it's on the right layout, and it's in the right mission. So this tournament had an interesting kind of twist in it. I personally don't like it. I'll just come out. I have no problem saying that. I do not like it. I think it adds too many variances to what could be like a variance enough, right? Like you don't know the five armies you're going into. You have all these deployments, all these layouts, and now we have two different missions to choose from. So that's the general thing. So there's like 5 deployment mission layout, and then each one is different. So you're having to go into a round and say, okay, well, not only do I have to pick the right layout, but that layout has 2 mission options, which means your opponent, if I pick the layout, my opponent gets to pick 2 missions. So we spent so much time saying, hey, what are the missions that we're actually afraid of? It came down to one. It was Purge the Foe. It was like, who can actually play on Purge the Foe and who cannot play on Purge the Foe? I'll give you a hint. Matt nor I could play on Purge the Foe. Like it completely neuters our capability of playing the game because we get put in a position where like they can outshoot me and outkill me because my whole job is to outscore. But then on the flip side, the majority of those Purge the Foes missions were paired with Terraform. So if there was a potential for my opponent to pick the Purge mission, I would just take Terraform. And that happened twice. And I beat both of those armies because like I love Terraform. Terraform is like my bread and butter. Like what? You want units to do actions and go out there and die? I got you. Do I get the army for you? It's Gene Stealer Call. So yeah, I learned a lot after that. We spent a lot of time on just that aspect of it. It's just like what missions do you not want to see? What deployments do you want to see? Because it's not like a normal teams where like you would just have the same deployment and everyone is just on a different layout. It was like you had Search and Destroy, you had Crucible, you had Tipping Point, you had every single one of those that is mixed in there as well. So we spent like a lot of time, and I think it's slowed down the process a little bit. I would have much rather spent more time on like list generation and practice like that. But because there's so many variables, it's just like, man, what missions do you not want to see? And then that turned into more of a singles mindset, which is kind of tough.
Yeah, I do think, besides Matt not wanting Purge, the only other thing we wanted was to try to get him on Search, if at all possible. If we were attacking, we're at least like, hey, no matter what, or defending, we're like, hey, he's going on Search. His whole goal is to come touch you, right? I think it was 3 of the games, Matt, we were able to maybe get you on Search.
I think 2, and then one of them was Crucible, which was good enough.
Yeah. And then, what I learned from Ben is just play what's broken. Why really try to solve what's good or what kind of stuff we can take when you can just be like, you know what? I am just going to play some Ultramarines in Blade of Ultramar with 3 Vindicators, 2 Ballistas, a ton of characters wrapped in Victrix Guard. And it was just plain abusive. I got to watch, as I like, you guys were playing your games. I just got to watch Ben just be like, oh, well, that's a mistake, and just eat people all weekend. It was impressive. A very good player and very gross army. So I would say that would be kind of one of the takeaways for me is, if something is one of the best things you can run, maybe you should run it. They're not 4 wounds anymore. They're not what they used to be. They're only really good now. They're not insanely great. They're just really good. But yeah, I think that's one of the things to keep in mind would we have been better off just really trying to take a lot of the top meta ourselves? As a captain, Phil, what are your thoughts on that front?
I don't think there's a necessity in 5-man teams to take the 5 best armies. Mainly because sure, yeah, like would I have preferred to have Drakari? Probably. Like having a spectacle spite army in this comp would have been nice. We almost got sisters. Ryan was working on it, and we may see them soon. But like, I firmly believe that game plan can rate anything. Like, especially in teams, if you build the right list and you have a good understanding of the game plan, like you'll be just fine. And I think a good example of it is like, well, we'll take Matt's Assimilation Swarm. Is that a good singles army? No, absolutely not. Like in this day and age, there's a lot of things that'll kill that, and it will struggle to get to the final table. It'll beat some armies. It will absolutely hard lose to others. Does that mean it's a bad teams army? No. Does that mean it has no place in teams? No. Does Tyranids have no place in teams? As Sam Pope and Matt both showed us, no, that's not true. It has a place in teams. I think you need to craft the right 5 players or 8 players that actually have a good understanding. The general rule of thumb that we have, especially going into this, and this fluctuates depending on the missions and depending on the terrain, but like I want 2 lists that'll score no matter what, right? Like I want 2 lists that'll be like, hey, I can put them into whatever and they will score. At the end of the day, that's myself, like my Gene Stealer cult, and then Matt's Tyranids. Like we knew at a certain point, like we have enough bodies, we have enough OC that like hopefully even into the worst matchups, we can still score. I want at least 2 aggro lists. And that can be different times of aggro. So Ryan's World Eaters, very aggressive, especially if we get it on the right layout, especially if we get it in the right mission. Like that's a very aggressive list. John's Town, that's another very aggressive list. That's just like, hey, if you have like the way I pictured it is like, hey, Imperial Guard tank spam. Like if you go out there, you're gonna die. Like those Riptides, those Storm Surges are just gonna pick up 600-700 points of your army, and you're not gonna have enough to hit back. And then obviously Ben Neal is just Ben Neal. Right, like we're talking about one of the best players in the country playing an incredibly tough skew. It's pretty much 2-up save the army. You have Vindicators, you have Victrix, and like, does that list necessarily is it as fast as Ryan's? No. Is it as shooty as John's? No. But you know what it does? It is durable as shit, and that's its type of aggressive. It's not a traditional aggressive, and for a lot of teams players, they may think like, oh, the only aggressive armies are like Biosynctic GSC and World Eaters and um, like I don't know, Drakari, right? Like those are aggressive armies because they can do whatever. No, there's a lot of different ways to be aggressive. But if I was on a 5-man teams, that's where I'd feel pretty comfortable. Like 2 take all comers type lists and 3 aggressive lists. Now there's some like cross pollination there where it's like, does Ben Neal score well in everything with that Ultramarines list? Yes. Yes, he does. Does Ryan's World Eaters with enough trade pieces score well into a lot of lists? Yes. Yes, it does. Because it has enough trade pieces to go do the things that it needs to do. So like if you can get a list that not only can be aggressive, but also has that blunting style, it does cover a lot of weak spots. And it's more important for 5-man teams versus 8-man teams. 8-man teams, I believe you can skew even harder. Like you could take more and more aggressive things in terms of like non-traditional singles lists and be effective because you have 8 players to cover kind of the weak spots, which 5-man, you obviously only have 5.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great summary of kind of our stance on comp building. Maybe some takeaways from the weekend. Real quick, just going around the horn here, Matt. Anything else from that event that you want to talk about?
Well, let's see. I mean, 5-man teams is great. I'm definitely more used to the 8-man teams format now. So 5-man teams is certainly a little more volatile, I'll say, just because, yeah, you can't cover all those weaknesses. So if you do happen to get that bad pairing, you just don't have someone to cover it. So it's very easy to suddenly get 20-0'd or something like that just because, yeah, mispairings. But still an absolute blast. It's obviously easier to get 5 guys together than 8. So I definitely enjoy both formats. And I do think, I mean, everyone, I think in the top levels has been saying this, that teams 40K seems to be the best way to play the game. I 100% agree with that. It's super fun. So yeah, 5-man or 8-man, count me in anytime you guys want to play.
Yeah. Looking forward to. I mean, the 5 of us are all headed out to Oregon here before long to go play at WCW, West Coast War Bands, out in Portland. That's going to be a great time. We're really looking forward to that. But we'll finish the episode. Ryan, any other takeaways?
I mean, I really agree with what Phil was saying on the list comp. I mean, I think a perfect example is when we paired into Smite Club, we looked at their lists and we're like, oh, these are literally just the top armies. We prepared for this. And our lists were very much designed to deal with the top armies, but sometimes we did fall short on other armies where other people did the same thing, and then we didn't really gel into them very well. But we covered it very well, I think, just as a spread and pairings. Phil, you demolish pairings every time. I was really impressed. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Hell yeah. John, any final words?
I think when you're doing teams, I think it's really important to stick with what you're comfortable with, to be honest. Like, I knew that was the way to operate, and I think I just let my ego get the better of me. I just said, this is good. Guns fast, light tables, let's fucking shoot people to death. And it didn't end up working that way, obviously. But really, when you're looking at matrices and potential matchups and all that, especially when they throw in the added element of having to pick a mission on top of a layout, I think it's really important to just be super solidly confident in the army that you're playing, and to not just pick up whatever you think the new hotness is.
Yeah, totally fair. Removing any variables we can, especially when they're throwing in extras at their events. But whatever. Looking forward to not having to deal with mission selection here in Oregon coming up. But yeah, thank you guys again for coming on. Great to have you guys. Looking forward to more events with y'all. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord. Come talk to these great faction specialists. They'd love to tell you all about their armies. John can talk about Tau.
Worst army in the game. Dump it.
Yeah, Tau is trash. We're never taking it to teams again. You heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you everybody for tuning in. And do not forget that victory isn't given, it is forged. It's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.